you but need that. Take it away, boys. Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remember in Arkham City, I killed your girl, so pretty. That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew we'd be together. Look who's laughing now. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I fill you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I am the clown, prince of crime. And we've had a hell of a time. You're part of me, I'm part of you. And now there's nothing left to do. I just can't wait till I'm in control. Who'll be laughing then? I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. Oh yeah, I think I can taste your fear. Now that my time is near, I'm in your blood, I'm so alive. I only wish you'd let me drive. It won't be long till I make you kill. Who'll be laughing then? Barbara's dead and I'm laughing. Ah! Jason Todd's dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm even dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. I drove you round the bend and I'm laughing. I'm with you till the end and I can't stop laughing. I killed all your friends and I can't stop laughing. I'm cock-a-doodle-doo. All because of you. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. Ah, I fill you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. I'm stuck in your head and I'm laughing. I filled you with dread and I can't stop laughing. Your parents are dead and I can't stop laughing. What else can I do? Now I'm part of you. There's nothing like a comeback, is there, Matt? Let's go again.
Take a look around lively old London, buzzing crowds, we sweat and we revel, red-cheeked shouts and songs in the flicker of the gaslight. Eager blighty bursts from the cobblestones, racing, climbing, blooming fertility, born from secret seeds that are scattered in the night time. London is fed upon the meat of the dead. They're one shallow inch below the town. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Them that whispered dreams that only poisoned us, them that told us lies of their bravery, them that preached of progress and put us in the poorhouse, them done horrid murder on bloody stages, them that loudly crowed their humility, lords and dames that sung in the chapels on a Sunday. All quiet now, their mouths are stopped choked up by mud. They lie flung in rags and make no sound. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Those who fought for something better, those who taught by how they lived, loved ones taken long before their work was done. Underground, underground, leave them underground. 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 I'm vibing.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I've missed you. Have you missed me? Not weird at all. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. How are you guys doing? How's everybody? Hopefully you're good. It's been a lovely day. Let me get your chat up on screen. Voila. Hello, Super Kosher. That's good to hear. Saw a great film yesterday. Oh, good. Which one? Barbie? I've heard it's great. What up, boys? We're vibing. Yeah, we're gonna check out the Liza P reviews. Right here, right now. I have not seen any of them. So at this point, I can disclose that I'm also reviewing Liza P, but they have a separate review embargo for creators and influencers than media. So I don't think I can discuss it, like my impressions or thoughts on the game, until that embargo lifts. But I can disclose that, yeah, I'm doing it. I know it's confusing to me too. The whole thing's a little confusing. I'm just as surprised as everybody. It's trying to keep up with it. Yeah, I'm down to talk about AC Mirage though. I'm able to talk about whatever you want with AC Mirage because that embargo lifted. If you didn't see that video yesterday, I got to play AC Mirage at length and push it and try it, and I got some thoughts. So if you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer those. Scatha, I don't think I can even say that. I mean, we can watch the reviews that like IGN and GameSpot posted, and I'm guessing you'll be able to tell pretty quickly if I agree or not. I can't think of the last time there was a review embargo. There have to be examples, but I can't think of the last time there was a review embargo for like main media and like big companies, and then like a few days later for YouTubers and stuff, you know? I don't know. How back to its roots is it actually? To me, it's like, it does feel like a huge expansion that turned into a standalone game that is all themed around old school mission structures, stealth, all of that. Like, if you're expecting it to play like AC2 or Unity, it probably won't, but I think that's probably a good thing because those games didn't play super well. Unity, I think, played really well. AC2 has aged a lot. I went back to it right around the time I tried Mirage, and I was like, oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, rose tinted glasses for sure. But like, It plays well. It's mainly in like the set dressing, in the mission designs and stuff like that, where you feel the return to roots. But again, it's basically built as though it's just another chunk of Valhalla. So it's not anything new or wild. Like, they've added a couple of moves, a couple of things you can do, like the kind of pole vaulting thing, stuff like that. But the core movement, animations, all that stuff is going to be the same as Valhalla, so it won't feel super different. Though they did make Basim run a little bit, it feels heavier. Like, he feels like he's not just sprinting instantly every time you push the left stick forward, which actually gives it a little more intentionality to his movements. I like it, but I can understand some people were like, he moves too slow. I could see how people could feel that way, but I actually really like it because it makes it feel like you're controlling a person and not some weird alien creature that weighs 13 pounds, you know? Were there pronouns? Technically, there's pronouns in almost every single story. I can't think of a story that doesn't have pronouns used in the course of dialogue, I'm going to be honest. Oh. But no, I did not see any selection of pronouns, but that wouldn't really make sense since you're playing as a written character. Let's see. Okay, should we see this Lies of P thing? Let's see. This is, I mean, again, this is just kind of weird because I don't think I can give my thoughts on the game until my embargo lifts, but I guess we can see what they thought of it, right? Let's see. Lies of P review.
You know that we've entered a new era in the increasingly crowded Souls-like arms race when we're now turning classic children's stories into dark, twisted, Bloodborne pseudo-sequels.
To be fair, most children's stories are actually like super screwed up. If you've never looked into like old school nursery rhymes and stuff, dude, it's horrifying. Like some of these original stories, like Little Red Riding Hood, like she just gets brutally eaten and destroyed by this wolf. Like most of these old school stories are pretty messed up. Alice in Wonderland, exactly. That's another one where the dude was just tripping on, I don't even know what. I think absinthe is what they said he was tripping on. The dude was drunk all the time on absinthe, and then it made him hallucinate, and then he wrote Alice in Wonderland, and it's actually like... it puts everything into context when you're like, how did somebody think of all this? It's so creative. Cheshire Cat and like the Mad Hatter, it's crazy. And then you realize, oh no, they're all like high as balls. Like they're gone, dude. It makes you appreciate it a lot more, I think. And it also, as a dad, it makes me enjoy telling those stories or reading those stories a lot more.
But hey, here we...
Oh yeah, Cinderella cutting feet and toes off of her stepsisters. Yeah, the original Cinderella also. I think people don't understand just how much tweaking Disney did to make those stories acceptable for like mass media. The old school stories are horrifying, like terrifying. And yeah, like Pinocchio is no different. It's also even like the Disney version of Pinocchio is also pretty upsetting. But anyway.
We are. Yes, Lies of P is yet another game inspired by the unforgiving From Software masterpieces that have captured the hearts of so many, myself included. But it's also an undeniably impressive standout amid a sea of games chasing the Souls-like trend. It does suffer from some uneven difficulty and overly linear level design, but its impressive story, extremely well-tuned combat, and memorable areas and boss fights means that this isn't one you should miss out on if there's a Bloodborne-shaped hole in your life. It's fair to say that sometimes Lies of P emulates its inspiration so closely it feels like someone else is pulling its strings a little too forcefully. But that puppet show is still a whole lot of fun to join in.
I mean, at some point, I think we have to, like, as an industry, be willing to just... I mean, maybe we still continue calling them Soulsborne games. Because largely FromSoft is responsible for creating the genre, frankly. Or at the very least, popularizing it worldwide. But... It doesn't seem fair to a lot of these smaller teams and studios that are offering stuff at lower prices and through Game Pass and stuff like that. It doesn't feel fair to just constantly be like, yeah, but it's not as good as Elden Ring. You know, like, I understand that Elden Ring set a pretty crazy standard, but it's also that there's a little bit of wiggle room, because there are things that that game does that this game doesn't do. And then, of course, different budgets and all that has to be kept in line. But coming from NeoWiz, I can't think of another game NeoWiz has designed. So this is like the first breakout title from this team. Game Pass day one. They're also doing, my understanding is they're doing an early access thing. I think it's 3 days if you buy the premium edition or upgrade to it. So this is what you have to be prepared for. Game Pass, almost every major new game after Starfield is going to have early access. Just be ready for it. Like, if they can get another $35 out of you or something to upgrade to the whatever edition to play it early, they're going to do it. Why wouldn't they? So I think every major game that comes to Game Pass day one is going to start doing this.
It's both praise and criticism to say that Lies of P follows the blueprint pioneered by From Software down to the finest detail, with precious few deviations. Just look at the UI and menus.
Yeah. I think this is something we all felt in the demo as well. I mean, it's also like, there's only so many ways you can set up a UI also. And you can compare most games. It's like, see, there's like a currency counter and a health bar. They ripped it off, you know? But yeah, I mean, it is like something where it's clear where the inspirations are. But is it that they're copying the other games from Software, or is it just that this is the standard that's been set, not just by From Software, but by all of the other studios that have taken a whack at Soulsborne-like games, whether that's Neo or any of these other ones? Yeah, every first-person shooter game is still copying Doom. Yeah, like, at some point you have to separate it out and treat them a little bit differently. And they're just gonna show UI. Okay. I mean, this is all pretty standard, though. Like, we saw this in the demos as well, but this is all very standard weapon scaling stat sheets for ARPGs. Like, this isn't that shocking, but maybe it is for some.
And doesn't this look like Bloodborne? Combat is, of course, a methodical dance of attacks and parries designed with difficulty in mind. And it sticks so close to the script that it got to the point where I'd meet a seemingly friendly character and think, ah, this is the one who's going to betray me later, with full confidence that I was spot on in that assessment. There's even a major boss with the same name and rough appearance as a Dark Souls boss, which is honestly just kinda hilarious. One of the ways it does set itself apart, though, is with its story, which is a dark reimagining of Carlo Collodi's Pinocchio. You know, the story about a mischievous puppet known for telling falsehoods and longing to become a real boy.
A real boy!
Lies of P's version
Which, again, is like a deeply upsetting story when you pause to think about it. It's like pretty messed up.
takes a lot of gory and depressing liberty in its version of the classic tale, but it's got some nice nods to its inspiration. There are these untrustworthy mammals, plus a neat mechanic where you have to choose to tell lies or the truth. That'll have an impact on the outcome of your story.
Puppets are a constant source of trouble.
Oh, and the soundtrack is outstanding. Get a load of this.
Just want your step when we dance, when we hear when we feel alright.
That said, this style of game isn't known for having the most comprehensible stories, and Lies of P isn't wholly an exception to that rule, but it does try harder than most. There's a whole bunch of dialogue and cutscenes that kept my interest throughout my first 30-hour run. In fact, of all the distressing and enigmatic stories I've seen in this genre, this is definitely among my favorites. It's got some interesting twists and turns, and a few memorable characters too.
Genius never rests. Except for beauty rest.
As you'd expect, you'll split your time hacking your way through levels where practically everything in sight wants to kill you and taking on much more formidable bosses, and Lies of P largely nails both of those genre pillars. The city of Krat is memorable and dystopian, while also continuously reminding you that you're playing out an iconic fairy tale about puppets.
These reviews are always tricky because they don't want to spoil anything, so they only really show you footage from the first like 3 hours of the game, maybe occasionally 4 or 5 hours. And if it's like 20 hours, that gives you a good taste of it. But a lot of the time, the really cool stuff is a little bit later. So like in this case, we've seen the demo. A lot of us have played the demo already. And so a lot of the footage that we're seeing is stuff we've already seen, you know? It's just like, oh, well.
It comes complete with your cricket sidekick Gemini and your puppet-making father Geppetto, who always reminds you to be a good boy right before he sends you on missions to butcher everyone in your path.
Yeah, this is something we saw in the demo. So this is nothing, news breaking or anything. He's like, I care about you, boy. Now go to this super dangerous place and kill this huge monster. But I love you. Stay safe.
Get rid of the frenzied puppets that have seized City Hall.
You'll visit the poison swamp level that every Souls-like is legally required to include, and this exhibition hall with hopeful depictions of a future that clearly didn't work out quite as planned. Each is thoroughly enjoyable to stab your way through. Another item on the checklist is some memorable and usually disgusting boss fights, and Lies of P's got those in spades. I won't show you anything spoilery, I promise, but they're always enjoyable, even though they're all pretty straightforward encounters where you whittle down a health bar. It would have been nice to have 1 or 2 encounters where they mix things up with a puzzle or trick you've got to figure out to best your opponent. Those are always my favorite. For better or worse, much of Lies of P.
And I kind of like the straightforward bosses where you don't have to think like, am I missing something huge? Like I remember way back in the day, I saw, it was like a stream clip or somebody, and they were playing, I think it was Dark Souls 3, the one with, what's his name? Yorm the Giant or whatever the giant is. And basically you have to run to the back of the arena and pick up the Stormbreaker or Windbreaker, whatever sword. And then you just kind of like thwonk and it takes away like a quarter of his health bar. It's like ridiculous. But if you don't do that, it's like an actual nightmare where you do no damage and you just plick away at his feet. It doesn't do anything. And the stream clip was a guy that was just trying to fight him like a regular boss, didn't think to go to the back of the room and check. And he was like, am I not crazy? This is like insane. This is so stupid. Look how little my damage does. And then somebody in his chat told him how to do it, and then he figured it out. But, those, I guess maybe that's the point is that that's a very memorable encounter that I'm referencing now years later. But in the moment, it is kind of like, am I missing something? If you encounter a really tough boss, are you missing something that's cheesy like that? Or do you just need to get good, It wasn't DSP, was it? No, I'm sure DSP also did that. But DSP, he reads his chat. Like, I've never seen somebody rely so much on hand holding while playing video games in my life. Like, it is ridiculous. He played like Tears of the Kingdom and didn't remember about the lightning mechanic that zaps you if you carry metal on your back. Because when he played Breath of the Wild, everybody just held his hand so much. I even saw one thing where they got him to pull up that hero's journey chart, where it shows where you've been on the map. And they pulled it up and like his gameplay is just him zipping straight to objective markers for the main story and then finishing the story. Like he didn't explore at all. And then he's complaining about like how he feels like the game wasn't as great of an exploration experience as he was hoping for. Personal request, a DSP emote. I might be able to make that happen. That would be funny. Dude, I love me some DSP cringe. I'll tell you what right here, right now. That shows fan interactions. Yeah, exactly. I'm just engaging with chat, trying to have a positive environment. Also, everybody, contributions are mandatory. Dude, talk about e-begging. My goodness. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you.
Brandon Reyes super chatted $4.99. Simply don't have enough time to rage and try to get good at this game. After your Mirage vid, I'm counting down the days till the drop.
Yeah, I think after playing Mirage, I am feeling good that like it's going to be a game that most of us enjoy. Is it going to win like Game of the Year stuff? I don't think so. But is it a game Assassin's Creed fans can have fun with? Absolutely. Like, again, it's probably like 7 or an 8. We'll see when I actually get to review it and we get to play the whole thing. I only tried like, a vertical slice, but I would guess that it's like a good game that people are going to have fun with, but far from a masterpiece, The demo was played off of PCs. Yeah. It wasn't even really a demo. I can't go into like details of how they did it, I don't think, but basically it was clear that the version of the game I was playing was a developer build, and it was like basically they booted into it and could jump to any point in the story. It's like they had 1,000 different save files, so you could jump to any point in the game with any loadout, with anything you wanted, which makes sense when they're developing games that they would do that. They'd bounce around to test stuff. But in this case, we just happened to jump to a very particular point in the game and we played through from there. Some of the demos were streamed from computers in like Texas or California, wherever. And then other people played it straight on the hardware. Logan, thank you. Mandatory contribution. Thank you for the 2, and thank you, Brandon, for the 5. Yeah, for anybody not familiar, DSP or Darkside Phil, he is like a streamer, YouTuber from the good old days, and he has been like, people make fun of him because he is just the quintessential e-beggar, where the whole stream is just him talking about how he needs more support, and how you support him is by donating and tipping and stuff. And you know what? If he's getting his bag doing that, who cares, right? Like if his fans still want to send him money while he's e-begging, whatever. The problem is that it's been uncovered that he has like an addiction to a mobile game called WWE Champions. And the dude has spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. By some accounts at this point, he spent over $100,000 on a mobile game while e-begging from his community. So they donate, and then he spends that money on WWE Champions, which is unbelievable. Like, if you're gonna get addicted to a mobile game, get addicted to a better one, right? Like, it is straight up Candy Crush, but you unlock WWE fighters instead. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, he'll go on big begathons where for days and days and days, he's like, we need contributions. I got bills coming up. I got bills coming up. I got to pay the bills, guys. I need help. Donate, please. And then they dig into it a couple of days later and find out that he had spent $1,800 on microtransactions trying to get draws for a Hulk Hogan card in WWE Champions. Like, it's insane. It's actually ridiculous. And like, clearly he has an addiction issue. He's like addicted to gambling and the gacha mechanics, and he can't stop. They've tracked him, and he plays like all hours of the night. By some accounts, like he'll wake up every 3 hours, like in the middle of the night to do that. And it's just insane. Like I would feel bad for him if he weren't taking other people's money, implying it's for bills like his mortgage and stuff, when in reality he's spending it on mobile games. But that's a whole other thing. Joe Raptor, good to see you, my friend. Good to have you here. Hey, Luke, chiming in real quick. Can you do the podcast or Mirage discussion hype an hour later? So in 2 hours and 40 minutes? 2 hours, 40. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. That works for me. I can do that. The strange part is people would actually donate to him despite the e-begging. Yeah. See you then, my friend. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so the name that the detractors give to the people that donate to him, they call them dents. Like they have dents in their head and they're not thinking straight, because they are just like, it's been demonstrated time and time again that this guy takes the money and just runs with it. Like, and then spends it on mobile games. And it's never enough. It's literally never. He'll get like $100, $200 donation, and then that night he spends it all on the mobile game. Like, it's crazy. And even to this day, he still denies it. He still claims that he's never played it, or he has played it, but he hasn't played it in years. But when people are like, just pull up your phone and show us that you don't have it installed on your phone. It's like, no, because if I did that, then that would just like be giving you the power. Say, okay, whatever, dude. Okay, sure, that makes sense. And then like people see him, like he'll have his phone like here, and he'll set his phone down during the stream, and then people can see the game pulled up on his phone. Like, we know that you're playing it, like. But he's still like, no, it's totally not real. It's fake news. It's just amazing to me. Anyway, enough of that. Jacob, you can go ahead and cut that out of this. Let's see. After 120 plus hours on Starfield, I feel like I'm about to put a dent in my own head. So glad it's done now. I think I've actually been surprised. There's a good number of people that I think are reaching the later hours of their Starfield runs. And I've seen a lot of people like that were previously hyping it up like crazy that now are kind of walking back a lot of what they said, which is just funny. I'm trying to see if I bookmarked one of them. Let's see. No, I don't see it. Oh my god, stop. Oh my god, stop. Okay, I can't find it. Oh, I did want to show you this video. It's if Bethesda made Cyberpunk 2077. I'll show you that in just a minute. I'll say that in just a minute. But let's finish this Liza P review real quick.
Combat draws clear inspiration from Bloodborne specifically, with a couple minor tweaks. You can't restore health lost from direct attacks by striking back at your enemies like in Bloodborne, but you are given the ability to partially block some of that incoming damage, then counter to restore the chip damage you absorbed. The result is a similar meta, where aggressive gameplay is encouraged. That keeps fights moving along at a quick pace, but it also discourages more defensive playstyles, which tend to be my go-to in Souls-likes. Even so, this feisty combat is extremely fun, balanced, and well-tuned. But you're definitely boxed into playing in a specific way. Playing as a ranged magic user from Dark Souls is a no-go here. Another idea borrowed from Bloodborne is that your melee weapon is assigned to your right hand, while your left is reserved for a utility weapon. This one turns your robotic left arm into a Winter Soldier-esque tool of destruction, and that ends up being a pretty darn clever take on that mechanic. You might decide to close gaps quickly with the quick and effective puppet string, or blow up deranged puppets from afar like this. Or my personal favorite, block incoming attacks and dish out damage in kind with a fiery explosion that triggers when they hit your shield. It's especially cool that each of these tools can be upgraded with additional effects. Check this out. But it's the new stuff, namely the complete...
Yeah, Nick, it's like parries deflect the damage, but blocks do not. So if you're just holding down the block, the damage will get through at a reduced rate depending on whatever stats apply to it. But like you can see even here, so guard abilities, damage reduction rate while guarding. So these you have equipped. But if you parry, then it deflects it fully.
Awesome weapon crafting system that really lets Lies of P distinguish itself within a very crowded genre. Have you ever wanted to attach a giant saw blade to a rapier's handle so you could jab with it like you're fencing? Well, it's probably not advisable at all, but knock yourself out. How about attaching Mjolnir's hammer to the end of a rusty pipe? Go for it, man. You do you. With dozens of possible combinations, you're given quite a bit of freedom to make some silly or surprisingly effective stuff, as certain stats and abilities from your chosen hilt and blade combine for a unique combat experience. It's a bit of a shame, though, that the best weapons available are legendary tools that can't be disassembled and reforged into new weapons, and many of these are so much more powerful than anything you can build that you're sort of disincentivized from actually engaging with the crafting system the longer you play. Of course, the main thing that defines any good Souls-like is how soul-crushingly difficult it is.
Yeah, baby.
Lies of P has mixed success in this regard. On one hand, nearly all of the world exploration where I was fighting your run-of-the-mill evil puppets and gross monsters was disappointingly easy, to the point where death was a rare occurrence throughout my playthroughs. The same can be said of most boss fights, which Souls veterans can expect to beat without breaking too much of a sweat. They're usually big, slow, and stupid creatures who are easily confused when you move behind or underneath them, and they telegraph all
So like me?
their attacks like they're in the WWE. But then I'd encounter the occasional showdown where the difficulty spiked up dramatically without warning, and I'd die 20 or 30 agonizing deaths on a single boss, leaving me to wonder if I just wasn't properly leveled or something, which was never the case. I just needed to get good. Those specific bosses stand in such stark contrast to the much milder exploration sections that it can be quite jarring, and I often felt like the levels preceding a tough boss didn't properly prepare me for that gauntlet.
That is one good point. Most of these games, they do a pretty good job of like, in the level, let's say there's like a 45-minute level before a boss fight. Normally, what they do is in that 45-minute section, they have a bunch of enemies with like, let's say acid damage or fire damage or whatever it is. So let's say if they have acid damage, let's say they're weak to fire. So once you figure out that they're weak to fire weapons, you're going to start using fire weapons to clear out that area. And then all of a sudden, like, you have an easy time with it. And then that prepares you for the boss at the end of that level that is weak to fire damage as well, because he's kind of like the king of the acid, whatever characters. And that's something that like you'll notice a lot in Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring. They do this all the time where they prepare you for the boss without you even realizing that you're being prepared for it. And in the demo, because I can't talk about my full impressions of the game, but in the demo, we saw this a little bit where it felt like there were the puppet kind of grunt enemies, and then the bosses, there's like the big policeman looking one that was, he dealt out a lot of electric damage, but I don't know what he was vulnerable to, honestly. I don't know, maybe just blunt damage or whatever, I don't recall. But you know, I don't think they do as good of a job as like building each one of them. Which boss was the last one in the demo? I don't want to say it just in case I am wrong and then I spoil something I'm not supposed to spoil right now, but what was the last boss in the demo? It's all blending together now since I've been doing it. It was the RoboCop? Okay. I can't say that. Okay, I'll shut up.
Most likely, my skills probably atrophied during the stretch of mostly undemanding skirmishes in between the dramatically more difficult boss fights. Lies of P has also inherited some of the clunky roots of the genre along with its strengths. Among other things, there were a few times where I phased through the environment in a weird way, and enemies have a weird habit of just despawning right in front of me like they were fading away during the season finale of a long-running high school TV drama.
Oh, that's weird.
Thankfully, none of these issues were particularly widespread, so they're unlikely to drag down an otherwise perfectly enjoyable adventure, especially since
It's like this is a great example of demonstrating that electric weakness for puppets, because like this was in the demo too, where they have these little things that are kind of like mines, and when you destroy them they explode with an AoE of electric damage,
so they're unlikely to drag down an
and
otherwise
you'll see it immediately hits him and then it damages the crap out of him. He's immediately super weak after it. And like this is one of those passive examples of just really well done well, I guess passive communication to the player of weaknesses.
enjoyable
The zap, and then look how much that did. Instantly, almost dead, and then the passive
Especially
effect
since
takes him out. So if you're just playing the game, you're going to see that and go, oh, so the puppets are weak to electric damage. Okay. And then start using that. And I love this stuff where you show the player something without the player even realizing they've been shown something.
Performance
Love
is
it.
otherwise rock solid. I maintained a perfectly stable frame rate at every point, which definitely isn't a given in this genre. Lies of P might not branch out particularly far from its Souls-like inspiration, but like a marionette controlled by a skilled puppet master, it plays the part extremely well, in a wonderfully dark fantasy world.
I love all the puns.
It must be said that its uneven difficulty didn't always make me feel like an underdog, especially when playing as a brawny, overpowered version of Pinocchio with a massive weapon. And combat pigeonholed me into a specific playstyle, while the levels are less open and twisting than most. But with an awesome weapon crafting system, some really memorable boss fights, and one of the better stories we've seen in this genre, I can enthusiastically recommend you spend your time hanging out with Geppetto and friends. If you've been waiting for a Bloodborne remaster or sequel that may never come, Lies of P is the next best thing.
I mean, the complaint about it kind of pigeonholing you into a particular playstyle, I think that's true of a lot of the best games in this genre. Like, even if you look at just, like, Sekiro or Bloodborne, you know, they both have very particular ways you have to play them. Otherwise, it doesn't go too hot. Like, you want to try playing Sekiro passively and avoid parrying? It's not going to go well. You want to play Bloodborne really defensively? Not going to go well. You know, so it seems like a weird critique when the games you're comparing it to do the same exact thing. Maybe like it's not done as well here. I think that's a different claim, though. I think that's a different claim. Also, for those of you that were curious, here we go. Look at this. I did a poll on the main channel asking people, because we did the same survey on stream, and I asked, after Starfield, are you more or less excited for ES6? And after 38,000 votes, 29% say they're less excited, 23 say more, 31 say no change, and 17 said they never cared to begin with. That's honestly, it's more split than I think you would hope to see. You'd hope that every time we get a new game, you're more excited. Like after playing Cyberpunk 2077, I think a lot of people were really excited for The Witcher 3. I mean, let's say after they patched it, sure. But people are probably more excited for what's coming next from that studio, resoundingly. Whereas for like Starfield, pretty successful launch, but it's left close to a third of people less excited. Now, to be fair, it could be that some of these are like Sony ponies and all that, but I think that's a very vocal minority. I don't think that's where most of these people are. So I don't know. Make of this what you will. I just found it surprising that almost a third of people said it actively made them less excited for ES6, which is interesting. Yeah, DLSS support is coming to Starfield. I don't know why they didn't just do it at launch when a single dude modding it got it out day one within a few hours. Like, I don't know why they needed, at this point, like, what, a week or two? City maps are on the roadmap too. Yep. I don't know. I have no idea why that wasn't there to begin with, but we'll see. Did you see that guy put a DRM? You mean the guy that did the DLSS thing? He put a DRM on it? I don't know. Honestly, I'm just waiting for Avowed. I think, like, last time I saw Avowed, I thought it looked fine, but I did not think it looked anything like what I was expecting or hoping for. Like, I think it'll be like the Outer Worlds, where it's going to be a solid role-playing game designed pretty well, but I don't think it's going to blow anyone away in a crazy extent. Because I mean, you look at this, and it looks like, okay, and then semi-interesting world, okay. I mean, graphically, I don't think it's a powerhouse, but Obsidian stuff never is, and that's fine.
Sent here to the living lands by an emperor who couldn't bother to come himself. To investigate some plague that seems to be corrupting our very souls. You want us to trust you. But the truth is, you scare us. The way you fight.
I think my problem with it is that it has like some cartoony elements. Like the fire effects look a little cartoony. Some of the like shading and lighting looks a little cartoony. But then other parts, they look to be going more photorealistic. And so it creates this weird sort of uncanny valley feeling for me. Where I just can't really tell, like, wait, are they trying to be like really grounded, or is this more cartoony? I feel like they should lean into one a little more heavily. So I think the art style is just kind of causing me to feel conflicted. And like this weird font as well. I don't like the. I just think artistically, it leaves something weird, you know?
What are you gonna do with it?
Avowed. So I don't know. Yeah, the trailer was admittedly quite underwhelming. Yeah, it's just like the first one we saw. It was like, okay, so this is basically like a spiritual successor to Skyrim. Love it. And then they released that, and it's like, okay. It wasn't as thrilling. But I mean, to be fair, like what we're mainly going off of right now is a trailer based on graphics and visual fidelity. And that's never been Obsidian's strong suit. Rather, what they do really well are they do like RPG mechanics really well. And that's where this game is going to excel. And so that's where it will be made or broken. Let's see. I also wanted to show you guys this. I saw this on Twitter and I thought it was really, really funny. Okay. If Bethesda made Cyberpunk 2077, are you ready? Just soak it in. Okay. Just soak it in. Get to the elevator. Yep. Gonna go down to the street. Explore. Okay. Time to get in the car. Gonna drive around, navigate the city. Okay, now I'm in the car, ready. Oh, yep, gotta select where I'm gonna go. Okay, let's travel over here. Okay. Okay, now I'm here. Now let's go inside and talk to the person we were gonna talk to. Okay, let's head on over.
Hey, V, good to see you. How's it going?
Dude. It's like so accurate though. It's so good. It's like this is again like if you go and you play Cyberpunk with that type of design and like gated level design where everything is in its own chunks, so it has to be loaded in separately. It feels bad. It feels bad because you go in there and you're about to go explore and then load screen. Then go explore, load screen. Walk, load screen. And it's jarring. And when we see it in comparison to Cyberpunk 2077, of course, we're like, oh God, that looks horrible. Is that what it's like on the PS4? Or if they got Cyberpunk running on the Switch, is that what it would look like? And it's jarring because we've seen what the real, or what it actually is like. We've seen the other side where it runs well, where the data is streamed smoothly, and it's so much better that seeing it like this is laughably terrible. And when you look at something like Starfield, people haven't seen the other side, so they don't know just how good it could be. And so they don't feel it as jarring, you know? Hold on. There's a... Oh, I've got to go sign for a package. I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. I got to sign for a package. Okay, I'm back. It's okay. Look who snuck in here, though. What you doing? What you doing? I got a scary package that's labeled fragile. And I don't know if I'm allowed to open it on stream yet or not. Hi. It's so nice to see you. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the spot. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the spot. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the spot. Right there. Oh. Oh. She's a good girl. This is Hermione. This is Hermione. She's a good little lady. You wanna chill with me? She murdered a mouse last night and left it on the patio as an offering, which was very nice of her. That was very, very nice of her. She messed that thing up. I looked out the back door this morning and I saw it. I was like, oh my God, that poor mouse. Like, destroyed this poor little mouse. But she brought it back. She set it up there because she wanted people to, she wanted to show it off. Which is very cute. But, I don't know if I'm actually allowed to open this right now. I really don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna play it safe and just not, and we'll open it Friday. Because I don't want to get in trouble, but yeah, I don't think I can do it right now. Oh, hi. No, this is my coffee. This is my coffee. Meow, 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 meow. Yeah, I do know what it is. Meow, meow, meow. Yeah. You're a good little lady. You're a very sweet little lady. Do I think we'll ever get a new Thief game? I think eventually they'll reboot it. The brand name is good. Hi. Let's see. Give it a peek on the ground off cam. Let's see if, oh, Miney. She's, stop it. She's like laying on the keyboard. Oh, you're gonna break everything. She's laying on spacebar. Are you needy right now? You need cuddles. Oh yeah. Oh, that's the spot. Okay. Sorry everybody. Yeah, so the Unity thing, I guess we could touch on that real quick. Let me pull up the little story on it. So Unity, oh my Miney, can you sit on my lap? Because you keep leaning on spacebar and it scrolls and tries to play videos, and it kind of makes this difficult a little bit. Okay, Unity rushes. Hold on. Okay. Do I have the original? Okay, so from the top, Unity announced that they're changing their fees and pricing models. Unity, if you're not familiar, is a game engine that is used by many developers. It's right up there with like Unreal Engine and all of those tools. So it's a big deal that they're doing this. Now, what did they change it to? Well, when they made the announcement yesterday, they announced that they are introducing new Unity runtime fees that are based on game installs. Okay, so they're going to take a fee every time a game is installed. Okay, that doesn't sound that bad. What platform would cause that to lead to hyper inflated numbers and fees? Game Pass. How many of us have Game Pass and download a game and we're like, oh, well, I'll get around to it. I'll just download it now and I'll have it on the console. I'll download it. And then we might play it for half an hour if we ever play it, right? This is seemingly a policy entirely designed to take advantage of that phenomenon where people want to just download the game, get it ready because it doesn't cost them anything to download it, so they can try it for 10 minutes or whatever. But Unity now, they want to have it so that they can make their money every time a game is installed. As to whether it applies also to reinstalls is not clear. They define it as new installs. So I would assume that is per unique device. So like if something is installed on an Xbox and a PC and a Steam Deck, that would be 3 installs. And if you deleted it, reinstalled it, it would still be 3. That's my understanding. However, they've walked this back very quickly because the backlash was ungodly. Many studios saying, if you do this, like, we cannot use Unity as an engine. We just can't. It doesn't work. You will cause us to stop development on our game, port everything over to Unreal Engine, because this is so egregious. Oh, Miney. No, wait. How did you start a YouTube video? How did you even do that? I'm honestly amazed. So, hi, yeah. We're just not going to step on the keyboard right now. Thank you. So, all of that said, they walked this back pretty quickly. They are rushing to clarify and to quell concerns today. They said that they are trying to clarify all of this. The new runtime fee announced Tuesday morning is tied to the player's installations of a game, an action that previously didn't cost developers anything. With Unity's new plan, the developers who use Unity's free tier of development services would owe Unity 20 cents per installation once their game hits thresholds of 200,000 downloads or earn 200,000 in revenue. Again, this mainly seems to be targeting small developers. And for 20 cents per installation, you might not think that's a big deal, but when you think that like Game Pass has 25 million users, that adds up quick. If you get 1% of the Game Pass user base to install your game, all of a sudden you'd be facing major fees. So it is a big deal. It's a big deal. Developers paying over $2,000 a year for the Unity Pro plan would have a bit high or have to hit higher thresholds and would be charged lower fees. So again, they're just trying to push them to pay for the licensing fees. So game developers rallying on X began fuming immediately that any game enjoying a spike in installations due to a big sale, inclusion in a charity bundle, or even just being included by a popular subscription service like Game Pass would trigger Unity's fees. Stop it, the developer studio Innersloth, or no, stop it. Is what they said. Development studio Innersloth, makers of the hit Among Us, tweeted Tuesday evening, "This would harden not only us, but fellow game studios of all budgets and sizes." Again, it seems to disproportionately harm small studios, which is what's particularly gross about it. Like, they're going after the little guy. It's not like they increased the licensing fees on Among Us by 2% or something. Like, they're going after the little guys. That's what's scummy about it. Another studio, Agro Crab, called on Unity to reverse its plans, saying that it feared that its next game, set for release to the 25 million subscribers on Game Pass, could incur fees that threaten the stability of our business. For real. So let's see. Yeah, our core point with this, said the guys over at Unity, is simply to make sure that we have the right value exchange so that we can continue to invest in our fundamental mission to make sure that we can deliver the best tools for people to make great games. In other words, they're like, we're not making enough money right now. We want to make more money, so that's why we're doing this. It's not fun to get a bunch of angry feedback on any particular day, and I think that it is us needing to clarify some of these points, but we're listening and we will continue to make sure that we deliver the best that we can. And as for the specific posts, they said that they regrouped, and now they're saying only the initial installation of the game triggers a fee. That apparently was not something clarified initially. So like I said, where they say new game installs, perhaps that was added later, that language of new. Previously, it seemed as though they could take advantage of individual installs, even if they were repeated. Demos mostly won't trigger fees. What the hell does mostly mean? I don't know what that, I mean, this word has a lot of weight in this sentence. So even demos, potentially, you could be facing fees from Unity for having a demo for your game that people play. Like, geez. And then they say devs are not on the hook for Game Pass, so they would have some way of verifying, and so they're walking that back. Still, I don't like this. The fact that demos could possibly incur fees, the fact that installs are where they're going to be charging, like, it should be based on what people are playing. Like, if they're playing the games, that's where they should pay. And I don't know if it works on like units sold or if it works on an hourly basis. I don't know. But this seems to be a policy primarily targeting small developers. And I just think that's scummy. You know, like, go after the big guys. Why are you going after the unit or the small guys? Yeah, the mostly word is what's really weird to me. The Unity CEO, John Riccitiello, I don't know. John, damn it, John, was EA CEO when FIFA 09 launched with loot boxes. Last year, he said, devs making games without monetization in mind are effing idiots. In an EA stockholder meeting, he entertained the idea of charging $1 to reload an ammo clip in Battlefield. This is the guy making these decisions. Like, This is the guy that entertained the idea of charging $1 for reloading, that talked famously about how devs need to make games with monetization in mind from the very start. Like, he's not a gamer. He's not a guy that cares about the art form. He is just trying to maximize bottom lines. And that's that. I just don't know, like, went to Berkeley, CEO of Unity in late 2014. During his tenure, he's overseen 2 fundraising rounds, raising 181 million in 2016 and 400 in 2017. He also worked to get their engine into Oculus's software development kit. Let's see, where did he even start? He worked at Clorox and PepsiCo, and worked as the managing director of the Haagen-Dazs division of the Grand Metropolitan. He was named president and CEO of Wilson Sporting Goods, as well as chairman of McGregor Golf. And then he went to, I don't even know who this is. He was the CEO of the Sara Lee Corporation. And then he joined EA in 1997. So he's like, he's an old school guy that climbed the ladder at Clorox and Pepsi. That's where he got started. And then he moved into games and software in 97. It's like, this is just an old school corporate ladder climber. And, you know, he knew how to play the game, but this is not a gamer. This is not like, say what you will about Phil Spencer. He's a gamer. Like, yeah, he climbed the ladder at Xbox, and he's clearly a talented businessman too. But he's a gamer, and he cares about the gaming experience, and he cares about gamers individually. This guy does not give two craps about you. Doesn't care about the small developers. He's just trying to maximize that bottom line at any cost. I think as an executive, you absolutely should be trying to maximize the bottom line. The bottom line, that's your duty as a CEO, is to maximize the bottom line and to provide more and more kickback to shareholders and stakeholders. But there has to be some balance. Like, you can't just be like, okay, now for the new iPhone 15, it's going to cost $30,000. Hold on, Miney, you're kicking stuff. You can't just do that, because that's insane. There has to be some balance to keep it in check. Because like, oh, well, if we do that, then these smaller people won't be able to afford it. Even though I could afford a $30,000 phone because I'm the CEO of this company, I'm not going to do that because most people aren't like it just screams of being out of touch. And it's just weird, man. It's weird. Really random selection of CEO positions. I will say, having met with and spoken to CEOs of big companies here in Colorado back when I was in real estate, they overwhelmingly, it's usually because they know a guy that got them the job. And they're all like, you look at this, he went to Berkeley and the Haas School of Business out of Berkeley, where you can meet a lot of people, made some connections, and then he went and he served on a bunch of boards as a member of the board of directors, but he also climbed the ladder at Clorox and Pepsi, and then he went and served as managing director of Haagen-Dazs, and then he was named president of a sporting goods company, probably because he knew a guy that was on the board, and they got him, connected. And then he was chairman of McGregor Golf, probably because he met somebody when he was at the sporting goods company. And then he went from there and served at Sara Lee's Corporation, probably because he met somebody while golfing. And, then they all know each other, and then they shift, and he joins EA. Because he knew somebody from his time, working on the golf company. Like, all of this is so incestuous, and it's just people bouncing from company to company. A lot of them serve as members of the board of directors on various different companies. Like, it was one of the things that was surprising that when we were trying to figure out if ZeniMax was going to sell, before that whole thing was revealed, we found that on the list of board of directors was actually Donald Trump's brother. And Trump's brother was almost like entirely his career was being on boards and serving as a member of the board of directors. And then he would just bounce from company to company, and he was on a bunch of them. And, you know, it's because he had investments with them. And some people can be elected to a board of directors and they aren't even necessarily a majority shareholder. But once they're on the board of directors, they're getting to participate in major decisions. So, of course, then they're going to increase their wealth that way. And it's all just about who you know. Like, it's shockingly about who you know. Yeah, like Hunter Biden. Yeah, well, there's a whole class of people that just, all they do is that they know the right people, they have the right name, and so they can get into these positions where they end up very, very wealthy and powerful. Not because they did anything, but just because they knew the right people, or daddy knew the right person, or whoever. Like, it's not a political thing. It's not a partisan issue. It's just a matter of fact that this is a whole class in society that most Americans and people in the world will never get to experience because they're very wealthy and they only really hang out with other very wealthy people. So you're just not likely to see it. But when I was there, I mean, we would meet these people and some of them were very nice. You know, not all of them were pricks, but you know, it is a different world. It really is. I mean, it's like the one guy we worked with where he called us and said, I need to spend about $500,000 a month on new properties. We're like, what? He's like, yeah, no, I make too much money. My finance team said I need to spend about $500,000 a month on new properties because I make too much. So that's how I can offset my tax bill. And we're like, okay. Like, what do you say to that? This dude is making $6 million in cash a year in addition to whatever his investments are appreciating. Like, what? It's just ridiculous. But like, he was a very nice guy. That guy was one of the nicest, most genuinely kind people I met in my entire time working in real estate. Which is a lot more than could be said for a lot of the guys. A lot of the guys we'd work with were well off. Like, they were millionaires, multimillionaires, but they weren't like stupid rich. Like, they were rich, but not wealthy. You know, there's a difference. And hey, don't flash your butthole to everybody. Thank you. So anyway, I'll give him credit. He was a nice guy. Yeah. One thing we can touch on real quick. Cries in port. Yeah, for real. Could just donate it. Yeah, that would be another option. Would be to donate it, because then that would also offset your tax liability. But the reason he wouldn't do that is because donating it doesn't then grow into something else. So yeah, he had a really interesting job. He bought distressed mortgages. So he and his family, they would go in, and if you were in a position where, like, let's just say hypothetically I have a mortgage and the payment's like $2,000 a month and I just can't pay it anymore and I'm behind 2 months on this stuff and I want out of it. But I can't just sell the house because I'm behind on rent. And don't lay on the keyboard, you silly cat. Just stay right here. It's okay. But like, if I couldn't get out of the mortgage, he would come in and offer to buy out the mortgage at a slight discount. And then that person that was underwater on their mortgage, they get to leave. They don't lose the house, so it doesn't hurt their credit. Miney, you're just trying to decapitate me with the cable. Stop it. I'll help. Yeah, there you go. A little tangled up. She's just like, she's something else. Do you want to go out? Is that why you're acting out? You want to go out? Okay. Anyway, but with all this, come on. Good girl. See you later. But with all of that, like, for the person with the mortgage, they got to get out of it without going underwater on their mortgage, so it doesn't hurt their credit. They're happy because they got out of it. And for the person that bought the mortgage, he just got it at a discount, and then he can take those, package 50 of these together, and now sell them as a mortgage-backed security to somebody else, and he's just pocketed a ton of money. And he just got it down to a system where he would just roll this out, and he would just buy distressed mortgages, hundreds a week. And it did well. And honestly, he was helping people. Like, he was helping them in a very bad time in their lives where he was buying somebody or buying a mortgage from somebody that couldn't afford it anymore for any number of reasons, letting them get out of it without having to be evicted or foreclosed on and have their credit destroyed. And so everybody ended up kind of, everybody won. He really won because he made stupid amounts of money. Like I said, he was pocketing 500 grand a month. Still feels weird profiting from somebody's misfortune. I think it feels weird, but they also, for the person that was in that misfortunate position, they also got out of it better than if they were left alone. Like, if he didn't do that, they would have had their house foreclosed on, they would have their credit destroyed, they would never be able to buy another house again or rent another house again. Like, they would just be totally screwed. And then the lender also profits because they get to now get the mortgage paid for. So everybody ends up better than if he just didn't do anything, you know. But I agree, it's like a weird spot. It's a weird spot. Speaking of a weird spot, Apple unveiled the new iPhones. Now, this isn't normally something we talk about on stream. We tried to do a live reaction to the Vision Pro thing that they did like months ago, and they copyright struck the crap out of us. So normally we wouldn't talk about this, but the reason I wanted to is because apparently they're doing something actually pretty cool. It's a pretty standard iPhone. I mean, it's made out of titanium, blah, blah, blah. If you want to look into it, you can, you know, see what they have to offer. Slightly thinner bezels and stuff, but I mean, it looks identical to the previous phone, like whatever. But if we scroll all the way down, this is where it's interesting. A17 Pro chip, a monster win for gaming. They apparently built a brand new GPU for this thing. And it is capable of running Death Stranding, AC Mirage, Resident Evil 4 Remake natively. So they announced that they will be bringing AC Mirage, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Death Stranding, and I'm sure many other games too, to the iPhone 15 Pro, and it will play natively on the phone. That is ridiculous. Like, I can't even put into words how insane that is. It is outrageous. Yeah, I mean, let's go. I think just to put this in perspective of how outrageous it is, we should listen to an expert just explain how ridiculous this is, because I can kind of explain like, oh, the form factor is crazy. The lack of cooling options on the phone is crazy. So how did they even make that work? What's the battery impact going to be like? You know, just putting it in perspective, like the PS4 is a pretty chunky device, and this thing is going to be able to run it in the palm of your hand in this form factor. That's outrageous. But I can describe all that and it won't do much good. So let's listen to an industry expert, somebody that really knows what they're talking about, describe it, okay? Because he'll do a much better job of it than I ever could.
Mobile gaming platform in the world.
Jaws.
iPhone is powered by high performance and power efficient Apple Silicon. Features advanced HDR displays,
Moxie.
supports variable refresh rates, and is compatible with the most advanced game controllers. The App Store and Apple Arcade have revolutionized game distribution and iPhone and iOS.
All right, I'm worried about getting copyright struck. Let's just go here. So they have the new Division game running on it, and then whatever that is, Genshin Impact, I'm assuming. And then they show Resident Evil 4 remake.
4, once only available on consoles, can now be played on iPhone thanks to A17 Pro.
Now, to be fair, we don't know what this is going to run like. It might very well be running at like 300p, and that's the best, you know? Like, it very well could be that it just runs like absolute garbage. But if what they're showing on screen right now is indicative of what we can expect, that's wild. There was even, like, if you guys remember back before the Vision Pro, whatever presentation, I think in June, because it was WWDC, I think is what it was. But anyway, right before that, a couple weeks before, there was all this speculation that maybe Kojima was going to be making a game exclusive for Apple, because he was spotted at the Apple campus meeting with Tim Cook. And it turns out like it was probably because he was there to announce support for the Mac App Store because they were bringing Death Stranding to Apple Silicon, which makes sense. I mean, that's a layup. People are thinking maybe there's going to be an Apple Vision Pro game or something that he's going to be working on. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything about that. But now we see that they're also bringing Death Stranding to iPhone. And so that, I'm sure, was something they also discussed, was how they were going to make that happen. So you just never know what's in the works. You never know. Doesn't need to run at 1440p on a 5-inch screen. Well, exactly. Like, this is something that if it runs at lower resolutions, it's going to be fine. It's on your phone. I don't know how, like, controls translate. I don't know, like, if you're just going to have your PlayStation or Xbox controller Bluetooth paired to your phone and you can play like that. Like, that's kind of cool. What I'm more interested in is seeing whatever they do to the iPad, because playing something like Death Stranding natively on an iPad, like on a plane, now I'm interested. You got me paying attention right now. True, I have the ROG Ally, but still, I mean, if it runs efficiently on an iPad or an iPhone, I'm in it. Yeah, ooh baby. Ooh baby.
This is the future of mobile gaming. All thanks to the power of iPhone 15 Pro.
I think it's just such a layup. Sorry, I didn't share the screen for the last 5 seconds. But all this, I think it's a layup. It's a no-brainer to target the gaming community. Like, Apple is known for incredible software, polish, all that stuff. They have fantastic platforms and powerful hardware with crazy optimization. But they've never really gone in and tried to give games a real shot. And I just think it's about damn time they did. So we'll see. They're doing the whole rework thing to the metal, is what they call it, the metal, like whatever driver, I don't know what even it's called. It's just this layer of software, very, very deep down, kind of like their version of DirectX, you know, whatever that's called. But they have their version of that is being reworked and greatly improved for gaming. And so who knows, maybe in the next couple of years we're going to see Apple make a real push. Maybe it's just their way of trying to get back at Epic Games, where they're like, yeah, you tried to sue us over that App Store crap. Well, look at this. We're going to now take on the Epic Game Store. We're going to create the Apple Game Store, and it's going to have all of these huge games available to play on like your iPhone, your iPad, your Vision Pro headset, and your MacBook. Maybe. We'll see. I will say it's the only time I've ever considered switching from Android to iPhone. Yeah, well, I didn't, like, nothing else about what they announced was interesting. Like, it's all just the same old garbage crap of like, the camera is slightly tweaked and this and that. And now we've rounded the edges slightly more. And it's just a super, super underwhelming update. But because they're doing this, I think I have to swap to the 15 Pro Max just because I'm going to make videos where we try Death Stranding on an iPhone. I tried, Resident Evil 4 remake on the iPhone. I'm like, we're going to try these games on it. And those videos, I'm sure, like, will make the cost of switching pretty much a wash.
Justin Stoll super chatted $5.
Justin, thank
Keep
you.
up the skepticism. I think people are way too invested in certain game companies, IPs, consoles, etc. You are one of the only level heads out there.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. I also think it's gotten weirdly tribalistic. A lot of this stuff, at least. So I think it's good to see people looking at things a little bit more critically now. And I think largely we were... I think largely vindicated after Starfield. I think a lot of people saw what we were saying. And leveled out, I think. But, I mean, during the lead up to Starfield, a lot of people were just losing their minds. Could not believe that the game could have limitations or restrictions. And then, of course, we got the game, and it was probably, I mean, again, it's a good game, but it's far from perfect. Far, far from perfect. Let's see. I'm trying to find this one thing we were gonna touch on. Oh, thank you, Armin. Thank you. The camera's quite a bit. Well, they have like a telephoto lens, which, again, it is improved. It's better, but it's just not exciting. I'm just hoping that they can come out and drop some stuff that's really, really exciting. Let me just Google it. Da. No, that's not what I'm looking for. God, man. Anyway, well, somebody sent me this. Sorry. I'm trying to hunt this down, and it's not. It took me a minute. But in case you guys didn't see this was just fun and not gaming related. So there was a group of scientists and people that they were in Mexico, and they showed earlier today / last night, whatever, I'm not sure exactly when, they showed what they claim to be mummified alien bodies. And people have started losing their minds and are like, oh my God, it's real. They've confirmed aliens. Look at this. They show CT scans. They show all this stuff. It's crazy. It's confirmed.
Iron_will07 super chatted $4.
Let's just say it's not. Just a moment.
Do you think Sony and Microsoft will work with Apple to be able to download games you own on PSN or Xbox to the phone and play natively?
I could see Microsoft doing it comfortably. Just because right now Game Pass is more about users and less about platforms. And like they already bring all of the Microsoft suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that's all on the Mac already. So it's not crazy to think that Microsoft would put other software there too. But Sony has thrown a fit every time somebody tries to push them into putting stuff on other platforms. So I don't think Sony would, but I would not be surprised at all if Microsoft did. So, but anyway, with this, thank you for the 5, by the way, Iron. With this, I mean, people looked at this and were like, oh, well, clearly, I mean, if a government official showed it, it's got to be real. They say they're non-humans. They're not a part of our terrestrial evolution. And after disappearing, we do not. I think there is subsequent evolution according to the universe. So like they basically show these little mummified bodies and are like, see, it's confirmed. Aliens are real. Let's just say this was incredibly lazy. Like, these little alien bodies have been debunked for 5+ years. Like, we've known about these. They're just bringing them out now. But we've known about these for a very, very long time. And they've been debunked repeatedly. Like, and they're pretty horrifying, actually. Because, for one, they're partial actual mummies taken from an area where they used to, mummify their dead. And like you can see here in 2015, this same guy made claims of a mummified body he claimed was an alien, and then it turned out to be false. It was identified as a human child. And the weird head shape is because of the wrappings they used to put kids' heads in that civilization to elongate them, because they thought that made you holy. And so they would strap boards and tie it tight around your skull until it stretched out. And that's why this looks this way. But with these bodies, like, to hoax it, they actually went in and like altered part of the mummy. Like, they removed fingers to give it like 3 fingers instead of 5. Like, pretty horrifyingly disgusting behavior, all to get some attention, claiming that you have an alien body. Like, it's just insane. Like, but people look at this and they're like, oh, hook, line, and sinker. Yep, aliens are real. Look at the bodies. Yep, confirmed. Like even this right here at the top of my feed. It's like, dude, do a little bit more than just taking that. Like, I just can't believe it. This could get them to chime in on aliens. I just, man, it's just so disappointing to see somebody so uncritically look at stuff and then share total BS. Total BS. Yeah, aliens are real, but that crap sure isn't. Yeah, well, it's just like, just because you really want something to be true doesn't mean that it is. Mexico was odd. I learned about the skull stretching thing on my honeymoon in that region down there, and some acted like it was a neat, and others were so confused. Yeah, there's just, I don't know, it's just, I could keep going. It's just frustrating that it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Yeah, at least now it looks like some community notes are coming out. The mummies shown in the video lack peer review and were solely tested by Autonomous National University of Mexico. Mr. Maussan has made these claims before with the Peru mummies in 2017 that were debunked as human children. Like, this guy does not have a good track record, and he repeatedly has done this, but this time he's got it right. Like, whatever, dude. Whatever, dude. Let them be peer reviewed, send them off to other people to investigate, and if those come back as confirmed that these are not human, okay. Okay. Otherwise, I don't want to hear about it. Did I get to play Spider-Man? No, I did not play Spider-Man. I did not play Spider-Man. I would be fine. I mean, I'd like to, but reminds me of the Graham Hancock types. Like, you have an interesting idea, but saying things doesn't just make them true. Yeah, Graham Hancock, I used to listen to some of like the Joe Rogan podcasts where he was on, and it was always like, and these civilizations are so old, they couldn't possibly have done all of this. There was some sort of advanced technology that they had access to. It's amazing. It's like, well, there's a guy out of Scotland that's been building like a pyramid by himself, just by using basic physics and like pivoting rocks over little pebbles and stuff. Like, none of this is that shocking, but I guess, yeah, if you want to just say stuff, as long as we're just saying stuff, sure, why not? Whatever. Do you guys remember the day before? Oh yeah, have they updated anything? day before. It's been 3 months since the last trailer. I don't see their official company page anymore. Yeah, you guys remember this? This was the last trailer they shared for their zombie post-apocalyptic game. Remember this?
Get ready for November 10th.
That was their trailer for their post-apocalyptic survival game. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Nothing says survival like a Lambo. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I allegedly it's still set for release in November, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's still slated for that. There'll be a beta. These are the devs. They posted on August 2nd. That's the last time they posted anything. Man, yeah, the best thing to do is just do hands-on previews with proven content creators and press, because until a version of the game is seen that could possibly be a project anywhere close to being in shape for a release, nobody will believe any of this, and you all are just wasting your time with these posts. Including vehicles now is a red flag. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any damn sense. Like, it's all just pivoting and trying to show reused assets and being like, see, there's content. But like, they've created none of this. It's all just recycled stuff from, you know, the online stores, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Most games use recycled assets and stuff because it doesn't make any sense to remake something like traffic cones or cement blocks and stuff. If somebody else has done it and you can pay $10 to get access to all of that, do that. That's way more effective. So reused assets are a very common thing, but literally nothing in this game appears original. Nothing. It's all just reused assets from other places. And anytime people have asked them to show original content, like how the game actually works, they don't want to. They don't. And they pivot and show something like this. And it just doesn't make any damn sense. So I think they would be much, much better served just, if the game is real, letting somebody hop on and play the game, letting, 50 YouTubers and streamers play it, and then they'll make videos be like, yep, the game's real. And for a lot of people, that will be all they need. But the fact they haven't done that at this point makes me think it's pretty clear there is no game. Pretty clear. So anyway, for now, what do you think would win Game of the Year? Which game released this year has been your favorite so far? Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, again, it's just, it's got to be Baldur's Gate. If anything else takes it, the only thing that I think would be valid would be Tears of the Kingdom. But when you're looking at universal praise, I don't know how you give it to something that's more controversial. Like Starfield, I get it. You can really enjoy the game. I think it's at like an 85 on Metacritic now. And that's great. Like, you can really enjoy the game. No problem there. But I don't know how you give Game of the Year to like Starfield, which has had mixed reactions, but generally positive. I don't know how you give it to that and not the game that everybody agrees is amazing, you know? So I think it's gotta be Baldur's Gate 3. After Starfield now lies at Baldur's Gate 3, the frontrunner for Game of the Year. Maybe Final Fantasy 16 will be surprised Best Actor and Best Music. Yeah, apparently they've lost, Square Enix has lost about $2 billion in market cap. Since Final Fantasy 16. Which is pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Apparently the game just did not perform the way they wanted it to. And it was stupid expensive to make. And as to why, like, I think there's a lot of reasons why, but that's something people are going to be probably researching for a while, is trying to figure out how the hell that happened. Because Final Fantasy 16 should be a big game. It should be a game a lot of people are talking about, but for a lot of people, they just didn't even bother. And I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird. Revealed too late. I think it was that. The marketing was kind of weird. I think they tried to design something that was big and epic and took a lot of nods from like Game of Thrones. But I don't think the story was anywhere near as captivating as Game of Thrones or told as well. So it didn't hook people in the same way. So then you just have a game that's like big and epic, but also has a really slow story that's very slow and methodical. And for a lot of people, that just gets boring and they kind of check out. So console exclusive. I mean, that clearly impacted sales, like total units moved. But there can be games that are, universally acclaimed and sell very, very well that are console exclusive. There's a difference between meeting like the bare minimum thresholds and meeting expected and projected thresholds. So like if, let's pull out MS Paint. Let's do it. It's time, everybody. It's time. If a game cost you, like, let's just say this much money to make, in this case, it's like $200 million. But let's just say you were anticipating that you were going to make this much money. All of the investors are like, wow, that is a lot of profit. That's awesome. We love that. This is cash money. We love that. Like, they're naturally going to bid the stock up because they're expecting that much profit and they're expecting it to be very, very, very well received and to perform really well. But when Final Fantasy 16 eventually comes out, they release it and it does this well. It still made a profit. It still made a profit this much. But this ain't triple greens. This is one yellow. It's not the same. So it's still a success, but it is not the success that you were hoping for or that you expected or told your investors you were going to achieve. So I've heard the thing of people being like, well, but Final Fantasy 16 was profitable or it broke even or whatever. And I don't actually know those stats. I don't actually know if we have those. Let's see. Let's see. Square Enix pays off Final Fantasy 16's dev cost, causes Q1 profits to drop. I mean, there is no denying that it did not meet their expectations. Yeah. Operating income and net profits were very low. So, there's just a difference between being profitable technically and meeting those expectations. And if you tell all your investors and you plan financially for it to meet a certain level and it's still profitable, but it doesn't meet that level, it can still have rippling side effects across the whole business, lots and lots of issues. Yeah. Anyway. I thought they lost money because Forspoken and Marvel's Avengers game flopped. Yeah, I mean, those obviously lost money. Forspoken lost a lot. A lot. I mean, so bad that they dumped the studio, basically. And then Avengers obviously didn't do well, but that was a little bit ago. So, you know, all of those games didn't perform the way they wanted it to, for sure. And then like they have one really good game with that Guardians of the Galaxy game. And of course that one, just nobody played it. Which was such a bummer because it was actually a really good game. Yeah, if you haven't played it, you should. Like this game was actually really, really good. But it took a little while. Maybe people are playing it now, but it just went under the radar. Everybody assumed it would be terrible because it was coming from these guys and they were ready for it to be another Avengers, and it actually ended up being really good. And that's why it's all the more frustrating that it didn't perform well. But anything in particular you'd like to see? I just want more of these games like Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was fantastically well done. But it didn't perform well, so we probably won't. We're just going to see them return to like, I guess, whatever, Tomb Raider and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty. To clarify for everybody, the games coming to iPhone are also going to be going to Mac, and a lot of those were previously announced. I think Mirage wasn't at all, but it's just super cool to see. Super cool to see. I didn't hear about Guardians of the Galaxy till it came out. Yeah, Manny, I think they were braced for it to be bad and poorly received, so they didn't want to spend a lot on marketing, and then it didn't sell well. But that to me just shows that they have like very little confidence in what is going to make a good game. You know, like if they are like if they're that unsure about the quality of their games that they didn't market Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, how do you help that? Because if you play that game, you know pretty quickly, oh, this is really good. This is great. But the fact they didn't market it makes me think that they weren't sure it would be received well. Which, I mean, makes sense because a lot of the other stuff that they poured millions and millions and millions into marketing, like Forspoken, were horrible. And so it's like, why they thought that was horrible, or they thought that was great. But then they marketed it like it was great and it ended up being horrible. But then they also thought that this was maybe not that great, but it's actually really, really good. You know, I think how they gauge what games they invest in is all screwed up. And that comes from the top. I mean, it's the executives that greenlight those budgets. And that's something like you got to give Sean Layden credit during the PS4 era. Sean Layden is the one that greenlit all of these huge projects. Along with other executives like Shuhei Yoshida and all of those guys. They were the ones that gave the budgets to the God of War reboot. They gave credit or the budgets to like The Last of Us and to Uncharted 4. And they also greenlit the Spider-Man game and gave that to Insomniac. And all of these games that now are super, super successful. It was just because a couple of executives really knew what they were doing and understood what made a good game. And nowadays, it just feels like there's very little vision. It's just, okay, how can we maximize this? How can we, throw some loot boxes in there? How can we do that? Can we charge based on the number of installs? You know, all of that stuff. It's just asinine. But jeez, dude. So Alex Battaglia from Digital Foundry, he just posted this trying to showcase the side-by-side of DLSS 3.1 versus FSR2. People thought I was being overly mean to FSR2 in all my recent videos because I say that it's absolutely terrible and I can't stand it. Just look at this, okay? So look at the face on the DLSS 3.1 upscale, okay? It's clearly a human face. FSR. FSR DLSS. It's not even close. Like, it's not even close. So, like, this is why I think it's a big ding when a game launches with only FSR2 and when performance isn't that great unless you have it turned on. Like, because it's way, way better. DLSS is just better. We'll see if FSR3 fixes it, but man. Second face looks like he's melting. Yeah, for real. He looks like Harry and Voldemort when they were merging faces. Yeah. Anyway, so okay, that finishes out that. Let me close that down. Okay. Is there a podcast today? There is. We're going to be starting, he asked, an hour later than normal. So we will be starting in an hour and 15 minutes. So yes, we will be doing that. AB, I disagree with you on Final Fantasy 16. It is a great game. 3 million copies on 3 million copies on 40 million PS5s. I wouldn't call that a failure. With PC releasing by the end of PS5 life, it'll cross 10 million sold. Well, AB, I don't know what you're disagreeing with. Like, the game can be great. Okay, cool. I'm glad you like the game, but like, the company that made it said it was a disappointment. The company that made it said it didn't meet their expectations. It didn't perform where they needed it to perform. That's why their stock is plummeting. Like, I'm glad you like the game. It's going to sell a lot of units over its lifetime, but it's not going to sell as many as they wanted it to, or as many as they were expecting it to. It's not performing, and it's certainly not outperforming. It is underperforming. So I'm glad you like the game. That's awesome. I'm glad you had fun with it. But the people with the numbers, the people developing the game that greenlit this and paid for it, they're saying it didn't live up to their expectations and that it's underperforming and it's not the success they were hoping for. So, like, there's no use in, like, trying to rewrite history. It's just a matter of fact that it's not living up to their expectations. So, PlayStation should not acquire them. I don't know. They're just so inconsistent. Square Enix will have like a banger 1 year, and then they'll have 2 or 3 years of nonsense, and then a banger, and then 2-3 years of nonsense. And it's just not consistent. They have some great IP, they have some great developers, but they just can't seemingly put it together into something that is like compelling. Like, look at this. Investors, this is from Bloomberg. Investors concerned that game fans might be getting tired of Square Enix games as a whole due to poor quality control. Like I said, they're very, very inconsistent. Former and current employees of the company said it's depending too much on producer when it comes to game making. And if we look at it, let's see. They've shed nearly $2 billion of their company value since Final Fantasy 16 came out. So, again, like, for AB, I'm glad you like the game, but the investors who have the money on the line, they're looking at it and they're not feeling as though it's where it needs to be. It came out to mixed reviews. Now investors wonder whether one of the game industry's most remarkable runs is coming to an end. The Tokyo-based firm has long relied on its fetid franchise to supercharge growth, a formula that lifted its value fivefold in the decade leading to the launch of the latest Final Fantasy game in June, but the game's sales underwhelmed, and things got worse in August after the company reported a sharp profit decline. Shares plummeted by double digits. A dozen analysts tracking the stock cut their price targets, and long-term investor Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Asset Management Co. Jesus. Slashed its holdings in the game company. One of the most recognizable names among console and mobile gamers, Square Enix is on a streak of misfires and attempts to build another hit series to buttress sales. It's fallen behind rivals like Capcom and Activision in terms of market value. The company's fall from grace offers hard lessons for the industry about the importance of quality control and product planning. Yeah. Flooding the market with unfinished, bad, or untested games is a bad move. Tokyo-based game developer and gamer Michael Prefontaine said, listing Marvel's Avengers, Forspoken, and Diofield Chronicle as examples of poorly thought out games. The company has overstretched itself on too many titles without proper oversight. Yeah, to me, it just feels like they just don't really know what they're doing. Like, they greenlight weird projects, then they rush those projects out, and it's just really, really weird. The outcome is high degree of volatility in the quality of the final product. Some recent Square Enix games have earned rave reviews, while others, such as the multi-million-dollar flop Forspoken, have failed to find an audience. I mean, Capcom is probably the closest company you could compare it to. And for years and years and years, they tracked very closely to each other, and Square Enix even performed better. But then you see in recent years, they've just taken off, and Square Enix has actually started to flounder. So, to me, it's just clear, like, they need more consistent games. When they release something, like, fans need to know that this is going to be worth playing, worth picking up. Whereas right now, and this is a sentiment I heard all over the place, people were saying that they didn't want to pick up Final Fantasy 16 because they were busy with Diablo, and they were still busy with Tears of the Kingdom that came out the month before. And because it's Square Enix, they don't really know what they're getting into, so they'll just wait till it's on a sale later this year. And that's the worst thing for a new release. For you to be like, I'll get around to it eventually on a sale. They don't want that. They want you to buy it now at launch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Square Enix, but I think they need a pretty hefty revamp in terms of company leadership, because their current leadership clearly is not able to consistently put out quality titles. So, yeah. Looks like Jor got all 19 inches of Venom today. Might be why he needed an extra hour. So, he said what he was working on. I forget what it was. Maybe it was the Spider-Man. I don't know. I forgot the message. But he mentioned what he was working on. He was trying to get a video out. But yeah, that might also be part of it. Maybe he can unbox it for us. I don't know. Was it the Starfield review? Is that what he said? Okay. Anyway, what I'm going to do, guys, is we are going to go on a little break. I'm going to go eat lunch, use the little boys' room, and then I am going to be back in about an hour, and we're going to do the podcast with the one and only Joe Raptor. So buckle up, buckaroo. It's going to be a good one. We'll go on a little recess, and then we will be back in an hour. It'll be a new stream event, so you'll see it as its own thing for the podcast. But we'll be back then, and we will talk about stuff. It's going to be a good time. Okay, much love, everybody. I'll see you very, very soon. Stay safe.